But what is the current policy? Does the U.S. government have a plan?
In terms of preparedness, there are not many documents out there to prepare officials for the possibility of a UFO event taking place. But amazingly, there is one such document in the United States. It's called A Firefighter's Guide to Disaster Control, and this is a book that's used in the Federal Emergency Management Agency's National Academy to train firefighters.
The second edition of this book came out in 1993. And that book had a chapter on UFOs. Explicitly, what would an emergency specialist do in the event of a UFO-related crisis or disaster? It's really pretty amazing stuff to go into a book that was written under the FEMA umbrella.
It would not be remiss to give some thought to the part that fire departments might play in the event of the unexpected arrival of UFOs in their communities.
If there is an event like this, the firefighters and the police officers will be the first people on the scene. And they are instructed in this book to get in touch with the military. I don't think they'll be handling it by themselves for too long, but since they are the first ones on the scene, it gives some general guidelines.
Among the dangers they listed, I believe, were to aircraft. So the knocking out electrical or navigational equipment was one such danger they indicated. Knocking out communications equipment.
You may have engine trouble upon approaching the scene, and radio contact could be lost with your dispatcher.
Well, there is definitely a concern about a physical object crashing or somehow impacting populations. Giving specific instructions like do not get too close to the UFO, do not touch the UFO, be prepared for radiation, be prepared for possible psychic effects. You know, it might affect your mind in certain ways. You might feel sick.
Some combination of air and ground units should be available to treat potential victims of unexplained aerial phenomena.
And then it ends the chapter by outlining a scenario of a UFO crashing in a school. It actually says there are alien bodies there, and you have to decide whether to rescue them or what to do with them. You know, what would you do as a firefighter in such a situation dealing with such an unknown phenomenon?
With a good plan, good leadership, and adequate resources, you may save many lives in any disaster, including attack from possible enemies.
But many researchers doubt this document is the comprehensive plan that the government has for when UFOs land in our neighborhood.
There really aren't that many recommendations on what one would do. Well, the main thing that they say is if you have firearms, don't shoot at the vehicle. All right, well, I think that's probably good, very good advice. But beyond that, there's really not an awful lot that they recommend.
It is the one document, I think, in the United States that we know about that indicates a concern that our officials be prepared for such an event taking place. This manual is apparently found in most firehouses throughout the country. I have looked into whether the police department has a similar manual, and I have been told that they don't. The military has no manuals that we know of like this. I'm sure that they do that are not made public.
Is there more than what is being made public? Surprisingly, other governments have contingency plans for ET's arrival.
You also need to know that some governments are getting impatient with this. A perfect example is France.
When we return, the French develop emergency procedures after strange lights descend on the neighboring country of Belgium.